Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're about to embark on another deep dive, really tailored for you, our curious listener. Today, we're taking a close look at Viasat, the satellite broadband and communications company. The big question we're tackling is now a good time to buy Viasat stock? We've gathered a stack of sources, everything from fundamental analyses to technical charts to help us sort of unpack this.
Yeah, and our mission, as always, is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights, really helping you cut through all the noise and get well-informed pretty quickly. We'll explore the company's financial health, what the market thinks about its valuation, how its stock's been behaving, and crucially, the key risks and opportunities ahead.
Right. And before we jump in, if you're finding value in these deep dives, please do consider subscribing, liking, maybe leaving a comment. Your support truly helps us keep bringing these insights to you. And if you feel inclined to support us further, you can always consider buying us a coffee. The link's usually in the description. Okay, now let's get into Viasat. Okay, let's unpack Viasat. They operate in that, fascinating world of satellite broadband and communications right there. And they have a pretty strong focus on defense and advanced technologies. These are sectors with, high demand.
Definitely high demand, but also really intense competition, and let's face it, significant capital requirements. It costs a lot to be in this business. What's interesting here is that Viasat is a recognized leader, particularly when it comes to defense and government contracts. That's a strength. However, they face some pretty stiff competition. You've got larger, more diversified players, and now these emerging space-based internet providers too, thanks Starlink and others.
Right, a crowded field. So let's get down to the numbers then. Our sources show Viasat reported $4.52 billion in trailing 12-month revenue. And that's up 5.5% year over year, which, sounds positive initially, but here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, that revenue growth, while it's there, it kind of hides a significant challenge. Viasat is still operating at a loss, a big one. Their net income over the past year was minus $574.96 million, negative.
Wow. Okay, nearly $600 million in the red. That's a huge red flag, isn't it?
It really is. It's tied to recent acquisitions or, rolling out new tech. Very costly stuff.
So with those kinds of losses persisting, what does this mean for their debt and cash flow? Are they burning through cash?
Right. Well, the sources don't give us the exact debt figures or free cash flow numbers right now. But yeah, persistent losses like that definitely suggest debt management could be a concern. And it almost always points towards negative or, at best, very tight free cash flow. Now, analysts generally expect improvements down the line, but the company truly has to execute on its strategy. They need to turn around these negative earnings. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so fundamental picture. Growing revenue, but significant losses. Let's move on to what the market is signaling through valuation metrics. Since they have negative earnings, the usual PE ratio, it's not applicable here.
Right. You can't divide by zero or a negative number meaningfully there. So we look at the forward PE ratio, and that stands at a high 56.14.
56, wow.
Yeah, it's high. And this number is crucial because it implies the market is expecting really substantial future earnings growth. That's a whole lot of optimism, baked into the price for a company that's currently losing money hand over fist. It's a big bet on a turnaround.
Okay, that's one side. On the other hand, the price to sales ratio, the PS, is roughly 0.47. That seems quite low, especially compared to many tech peers.
It is low, but that's actually pretty typical for a company with negative profits. It basically highlights that the market isn't giving them much credit for their sales revenue precisely because there's no profitability attached to it yet.
Makes sense. It underscores the profit problem.
Exactly.
But what really stands out here, though, is the analyst consensus. Our sources show a buy rating overall for Viasat. And the 12-month price targets, they range pretty widely from $10 up to $52, but the average is around $20.
An average of $20, and the stock's trading where now? Around $15, $16.
Yeah, exactly. So that average target implies pretty significant potential upside from current levels.
That's interesting. It shows analysts are perhaps looking past the current losses towards that potential turnaround we talked about. They must see something in the strategy or market position.
It seems like it. Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's talk technicals. What are the charts telling us? Viasat stock has recently been trading, like we said, in that $15, $16 range, and it seems to be showing some bullish momentum lately.
Yeah, what's fascinating here, technically speaking, is that the stock is currently trading just above its 50-day simple moving average, which is around $10.88, and also above its 200-day SMA, sitting near $10.03.
Right. And having the price above both those moving averages is generally seen as supportive of a short-term uptrend, isn't it?
Generally, yes. It suggests buyers have been stepping in and pushing the price up over those timeframes.
Okay. And we also see strong support, like a floor for the price, around $10. Resistance, the ceiling, is likely near those recent highs of $26.70 within its 52-week range.
Good points. And the relative strength index, the RSI, it's pretty neutral right now, around 64.1. So that indicates it's not really overbought or oversold at this moment. There's potentially room to move either way based on that indicator alone.
And volatility.
Yes. Volatility is high, 19.45%, so expect swings. But interestingly, despite that, 20 out of the last 30 trading days were green days, meaning the stock closed higher.
20 out of 30. That's 67%.
Exactly. So that shows a prevailing bullish sentiment in the very immediate short term. Buyers have been winning more days than sellers recently.
So putting that together, a positive short-term trend is visible, but we need to remember that high volatility and those underlying fundamental risks are still very much in play.
Absolutely. The technicals looked okay short term, but they don't erase the fundamental challenges.
Okay, so looking ahead then, what are the potential catalysts? What could actually move Viasat stock significantly? The next earnings report jumps out, expected around August 6, 2025. That could definitely be a big short-term catalyst, right? Depending on what they report.
Absolutely. Earnings are always key, especially when profitability is the main concern. Any sign of improvement or lack thereof will likely move the needle. And longer-term catalysts would be things like successfully integrating those acquired assets we mentioned. That needs to go smoothly. Also, new product launches and just broader adoption of satellite broadband in general. Can they execute on these? That's the billion-dollar question, perhaps literally.
And we touched on analyst sentiment earlier. Sources mentioned 7 analysts currently rate Viasat a buy, with those price targets averaging around $20. Quite a bit above the current price.
Right. And it's interesting to contrast that analyst bullishness with the broader market sentiment. The fear and greed index is indicating fear overall with a score of 39. But as we saw with the technicals, the sentiment for Viasat itself seems more bullish recently. Remember those 20 out of 30 green days?
Yeah, 67%. So kind of a split picture there. General market fear, but specific short-term optimism or buying pressure in Viasat.
Exactly. A bit of a divergence.
Okay, let's talk risk. Every investment has risks, and Viasat is definitely no exception. Here's where it gets really important to understand the potential downsides.
Yeah, super important. From a stock-specific view, the biggest ones are those persistent negative earnings. That's number one. Then you add the high volatility we discussed. Those big price swings aren't for everyone. And then there's significant execution risk.
Execution risk on what specifically?
On managing costs effectively and, crucially, integrating those acquisitions properly. If they mess that up, it could derail the turnaround story.
Got it. And then there are the sector-specific risks too, right? This isn't an easy industry.
Not at all. Viasat operates in an intensely competitive environment. We talked about that. Plus, the high capital expenditure requirements building and launching satellites is incredibly expensive. And the technology changes so fast, you constantly have to invest to keep up or risk being left behind.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, macro risks.
Definitely. Macroeconomic factors matter. Things like the interest rate environment, higher rates make debt more expensive, which isn't great for a company losing money. And government defense spending. Viasat relies on that, so changes there could impact growth. And while the shares are liquid, meaning easy to buy and sell, those price swings, that volatility, can be significant. Need to be prepared for that.
Okay, so a lot of risks to consider alongside the potential opportunities. Let's try and bring it all together. What's the verdict? Our sources seem to consolidate this into an overall rating of 6 out of 10 for Viasat?
Yeah, a 6 out of 10. And the rationale behind that is Viasat presents, well, an interesting speculative opportunity. You've got that analyst optimism, the bullish short-term technicals we discussed, but, and it's a big but, the fundamental weaknesses are serious. Those ongoing losses and that very high forward valuation, they weigh heavily against it.
So the leadership and defense is good, but not enough to outweigh the risks.
It's a definite positive, yeah, their market leadership in specific sectors. But the execution risk and the sector volatility remain really significant concerns. They can't be ignored.
So the conclusion seems to be that Viasat is maybe better suited for short-term traders.
Yeah.
People comfortable with that volatility.
That seems to be the takeaway, yes. Better for short-term traders rather than long-term investors looking for steady, predictable growth. That is, of course, unless or until there's a clear, sustained turnaround in profitability. That would change the picture.
Okay, so for those considering a short-term play then, any guidance on entry or exit points?
Well, given the recent uptrend and the volatility, the suggestion is an entry somewhere between $14 and $16. Ideally, maybe waiting for a pullback towards the lower end of that range, say closer to $14, might offer a slightly better risk-to-reward setup.
And risk management is key here, right? Stop losses.
Absolutely crucial with this kind of volatility. The guidance suggests placing a stop loss below $14 on a closing basis. Protect your downside.
And on the upside, taking profits.
Consider booking some gains around $20. That aligns with the analyst consensus target we talked about. Or maybe higher if that strong momentum really continues and maybe some positive news comes out, like a surprisingly good earnings report.
And for long-term investors, still avoid for now unless.
Yeah, for long-term investors, it's really advisable only if you possess a truly high-risk tolerance and you have very strong conviction in that sustained turnaround story. You need to really believe they can execute and turn the ship around profitably. It's a significant bet on future performance.
So there you have it, Viasat. Definitely seems like a volatile, high-risk, potentially high-reward kind of play. It's a really compelling case study, isn't it? Balancing that potential upside against some pretty significant fundamental challenges.
It really is. And it raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. How much weight do you personally give to market sentiment and those technical signals versus the underlying, sometimes messy, financial health of a company?
Yeah, where do you place your bets? On the story or the current numbers?
Exactly. It's a fundamental question in investing.
Well, it's been a deep dive that really highlights the different lenses we can use to view a stock and how sometimes those views tell quite different stories. Thanks for joining us for this insightful exploration today. We certainly hope you feel a little more well-informed on Viasat and all the factors that influence its potential as an investment.